My ex-wife showed up to our divorce hearing pregnant. She thought it would secure her a payout, until the judge asked one question. You ever sit in a courtroom and watch someone dig their own grave in real time? Because that's exactly what my ex-wife, Jessica, did. I should have known she'd pull something. The entire divorce process had been a disaster. Delays, tantrums, nonsense filings, just to waste my time. If she had put half as much effort into our marriage as she did into making my life hell, we wouldn't have ended up here. But when she walked into that hearing pregnant, I almost laughed. Not because I thought the kid was mine, I knew it wasn't, but because I could see the plan forming in her head like a cheap soap opera plot. Jessica was banking on one thing, that the judge would see a poor, vulnerable, abandoned pregnant woman and force me to pay up. Forget the prenup. Forget logic. Play the sympathy card. Get a payday. I could already hear the speech she had planned. Your Honor, I have a baby on the way, and I've been left with nothing. How am I supposed to survive? All while shooting me side glances, waiting for me to squirm. Too bad for her. I don't play dumb. And I don't lose. See, Jessica had underestimated me. She thought I'd panic, get flustered, maybe even offer a settlement just to avoid looking like the bad guy in front of the judge. But she didn't know what I knew. She didn't know that I had already figured her out months ago. Because the thing about Jessica, she wasn't just bad at marriage, she was bad at lying. And she had no idea that the one question the judge was about to ask her would make her whole story fall apart. Jessica was smug when she walked into that courtroom. She played it perfectly. One hand on her belly, the other delicately brushing her hair behind her ear like she wasn't about to commit legal fraud. She even threw in a dramatic sigh when she took her seat, like this whole ordeal was exhausting for her. I didn't react. I didn't need to. Because unlike Jessica, I wasn't walking in blind. I was ready. And so was my lawyer, Ethan. Ethan was the kind of guy who smiled in court, but would absolutely gut you with the law. I didn't like lawyers much, but after watching him dismantle Jessica's stunts over the last few months, I had to admit I was glad he was on my side. Jessica, of course, had gone through 3 different lawyers since we started this divorce. The one she had today? A newbie. Fresh out of law school, probably desperate to win his first big case. I almost felt bad for him. Almost, because here's the thing. Jessica had tried this before. Not the pregnancy stunt, but the manipulation, the fake distress, the "I'm just a struggling woman, Your Honor, please take pity on me" act. And unfortunately, some people bought it, including my own mother. A week before the hearing, my mom had called me. "Just settle," she said, voice laced with exhaustion. "You don't want this dragging on forever." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Mom, she's not getting a cent. That's why we had a prenup." "She's pregnant," she pushed. "You really want that on your conscience?" I almost lost it. "This isn't my kid." Mom hesitated. "Are you sure?" I wanted to laugh. Was I sure? "Mom, she cheated on me, repeatedly. I caught her." I paused. "Besides, you know what the worst part is? If I actually thought this was my kid, she wouldn't even need to pull this stunt. I'd be there. I'd take care of them. That's the difference between us. She schemes, I take responsibility." Mom went quiet. Then she sighed. "I just don't want to see this get uglier." It was already ugly, but I promised her I'd handle it. Which brings us back to today. The judge walked in, and the hearing began. Jessica's lawyer launched into a sob story immediately. "Your Honor, my client has been left in an impossible situation. She is pregnant, unemployed, and struggling due to the emotional and financial strain caused by this drawn-out divorce." Jessica sniffled on cue. I didn't even blink. Ethan waited patiently, letting the theatrics play out. Then he stood up. Calm, controlled, ready. "Your Honor, while we certainly sympathize with Miss Parker's situation, we must clarify a few things before proceeding. First and foremost." He turned to Jessica's lawyer. "Who is the father of this child?" And just like that, Jessica visibly stiffened. I knew that question was coming. Jessica didn't. See, she assumed the court wouldn't question her pregnancy, that she could waltz in, look vulnerable, and walk out with a fat check. But legally, her pregnancy was only relevant if I was the father. Her lawyer froze. Then weakly, "My client believes it is the petitioner's." I almost laughed. Believes? Ethan didn't even flinch. She believes? So there's no proof? Jessica shifted uncomfortably. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Miss Parker, have you had a paternity test done?" Jessica's mouth opened, closed, opened again, trapped. I just assumed. You assumed? The judge repeated, unimpressed. Miss Parker, is there any evidence to suggest the petitioner is the father? Her lawyer looked like he wanted to die. Jessica looked pale. And I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the show. At this point, Ethan was ready to finish her off. Your Honor, we have strong reason to believe this child is not my client's. He pulled out photos, taken 2 months after Jessica and I separated, of her on vacation with another man, holding hands, kissing, clear proof she had moved on. And then, the final nail in the coffin. Ethan slid medical documents across the table. Additionally, we have subpoenaed Miss Parker's recent medical records, which show that her first confirmed pregnancy test was months after she and my client had last been together. Jessica's face crumpled. Her lawyer looked at her, realizing she had never told him any of this. The judge? He let out a long sigh and shook his head. Miss Parker, this court does not take kindly to deception. Given the evidence, there is no basis for financial support. The prenup stands. You will not be receiving alimony or additional compensation. Boom. Jessica gasped like she had been physically struck. But, Your Honor. This hearing is over. Done. Jessica sat there, frozen. The judge's words were still hanging in the air, but I could see it happening in real time, her brain scrambling for a way out. This wasn't how she thought today would go. In her version of events, she was supposed to cry, look pitiful, and leave with a fat monthly check. Instead, she had been publicly exposed. Her lawyer wasn't even looking at her anymore. He was staring at the floor, probably re-evaluating every decision that led him to take this case. Meanwhile, Jessica was gripping the edge of the table like she could somehow hold on to the last shreds of her scheme. And then, the tantrum started. Jessica's last desperate attempt. But, Your Honor, Jessica blurted out, her voice high-pitched. This isn't fair. I'm about to have a baby, and he just gets to walk away? The judge exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. He was done. Miss Parker, he said firmly, this court does not make financial judgments based on emotional appeals. Your pregnancy has no legal bearing on this divorce unless paternity is established, which, based on the evidence provided, it has not been. But, the judge held up a hand. Enough. Jessica snapped. She turned in her chair, whipping her head toward me. You're really going to do this to me? To your own child? There it was. The final gamble. Even after being publicly humiliated, she was still trying to plant doubt. The courtroom went silent. Then I smiled. A slow, amused, merciless smile. You really want to do this, Jessica? I leaned forward, voice calm. You want to go on record accusing me of being the father? Because we can get a court-ordered paternity test right now. Her face twitched. She had nothing. She knew she had nothing. And in that moment, so did everyone else in the room. The judge didn't even bother responding this time. He simply turned to the clerk. Adjourned. Done. Jessica had lost everything. But it wasn't over yet. The hearing was over, but I wasn't done watching her fall apart. I walked out of the courtroom with Ethan beside me, my mom trailing a few steps behind. I half expected Jessica to slink out quietly, but I should have known better. She stormed out after me, heels clacking, face red, hands shaking. You're a monster, she hissed. You let me sit there, humiliated. I turned slowly, looking her up and down. I'm sorry, Jessica. Which part humiliated you? The part where you tried to scam the court? Or the part where you realized I was 3 steps ahead? Her jaw clenched. You set me up. No, sweetheart. I smiled again. You set yourself up. I just let you walk into it. She looked like she wanted to throw something at me. But then, she tried one last card. She turned to my mom. Are you seriously okay with this, with what he did to me? Mom hesitated. Then she crossed her arms. I'm not okay with what you did to him, she said. You had us all fooled once. Never again. Jessica's lip quivered. For a second, I thought she might actually cry. Then the real explosion. I hope you rot, she spat, stepping forward like she wanted to claw at me. I hope you, Miss Parker. The voice came from behind her, a stern official voice. Jessica froze. 2 court officers had stepped into the hallway. Come with us, please. Her head snapped around. What? Why? The judge has recommended an inquiry into potential perjury and fraud, one officer said. You'll need to answer some questions. Her eyes went wide. Wait, no, that's not. But they were already leading her back into the courtroom. I let out a slow breath. Ethan patted my shoulder. Well, that was satisfying. I smirked. Yeah, it was. Jessica was dragged back into the courtroom. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. The moment those court officers took her away, she ceased to be my problem. But I still made sure to follow up. Turns out the judge wasn't just pissed. He was making an example out of her. Faking financial distress? Bad. Trying to manipulate the court? Worse. Lying under oath? That's perjury. Her fraudulent claims meant she was now under investigation. The court didn't just dismiss her plea for alimony, they flagged her case for potential financial fraud. She had dug her own grave. Over the next few months, I heard bits and pieces. The judge hit her with fines for wasting the court's time. Her lawyer dropped her immediately. Her attempt to file for government aid? Denied. Turns out, they also require proof of paternity. And the cherry on top? Her new boyfriend dumped her. Apparently, after my lawyer pulled out those vacation photos in court, the guy started doing the math. He realized he wasn't the only one she had been with. And suddenly, he wasn't so sure he was the father either. I can only imagine that conversation. A few months after the trial, I got a text from an unknown number. Jessica, I hope you're happy. I stared at it for a second, then typed back, I am. Thanks for asking. Then I blocked the number. I didn't need to hear from her again. She had spent years trying to manipulate, control, and milk me for everything I had. But now, she was alone. And for the first time in a long time, I was free.